For all the attempts by the accomplice media to portray Paul Ryan's listening sessions as angry town halls in which opponents of his budget bill just trashed him, the truth is he had a great Easter break. His town halls were very successful, and thousands of Wisconsinites turned out and now have a better idea of what his plan really is. He rose above the din of the few pot bangers and the accomplice media who wanted to try to vilify him, and he heads back to Washington with another big win under his belt. His constituents showed that they support him and they like his plan in general. The Weekly Standard has a guy named John McCormick who followed Paul Ryan around. He sat through most, if not all, of the town halls, the way it sounds, and he writes that Paul Ryan had a real success here. He mocks the mainstream media narrative that, oh boy, there was a budget backlash and people were yelling at him in his own communities. They say the only problem, John McCormick says, the only problem with the backlash narrative is that it's wildly misleading. And then he goes through in a long article, 5-6 page article that is linked on jwebershow.com, all the different ways that they got it wrong. At 19 town hall meetings held over the course of 2 weeks, Ryan was praised much more frequently than he was heckled by attendees. Judging from the applause versus boos this week, he says, I didn't witness a single event where Ryan had less than 2/3 of the crowd supporting him. Some constituents thanked him for his moral courage, other for his cojones. He goes, the high watermark seemed to be Kenosha, in which 50 to 75 people turned out in protest. But then the very next day, later that day, in fact, only 3 protesters showed up in Franklin. I think that was a different day. 3 protesters showed up in Franklin on a Thursday. I think the Kenosha thing was Tuesday. And a lone dissenter showed up at Oak Creek, at the Oak Creek Town Hall. And he goes through how Ryan was so good at handling the crowd and went through a 20-minute PowerPoint presentation at the beginning of each speech, laying out the federal budget and our deficit and how entitlement programs plus interest are bankrupting the country and how we have to change things. That slideshow, by the way, at least his slides are now on jwebershow.com. There's a link to Paul Ryan's slides. We had him on the air last Friday, and I asked, is there a place that we can actually go to see your PowerPoint presentation, because I understand it's wowing all the crowds. And he told us no, but they're working on that, the actual videotape of a PowerPoint presentation, so all sorts of people can watch it. But at least the slides, and they're very alarming, they're almost self-explanatory. The slides that he uses are posted on jwebershow.com. What happens if we don't address our debt and what happens if we do? So you can find those on my website. But make no mistake, Paul Ryan had a very good week last week, and the left-wingers could only muster a very meager backlash. I was at a conservative and Tea Party event this weekend, and I heard from various people who were at these town halls and back up what John McCormick is saying here. I mean, overwhelming support for Walker and only a few unionistas trying to disrupt. And they quickly gave up when it became clear the rest of the crowd largely supported Paul Ryan.